All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here and welcome back to the channel. Before I begin, I do just want to say thank you guys so much for all the recent support. And I know I'm only 158 subscribers in, but I appreciate you guys nonetheless. I've been doing this for 6 months, going hard, and you guys have been here supporting me. So just want to say I appreciate you guys and thank you guys so much for all your support. Before I get into this video, one quick announcement. My friend Chuck and I started a new podcast. It's called The New Consensus, three separate words. And we've posted 3 videos already. We posted one yesterday about the DC shooting and the consequences of mass migration. So if you guys want to go check that out, please do. I'm going to leave the link to that channel in the description down below. Go click on it. Go subscribe to our channel. I would appreciate it very much. We talk about the same things I talk about on this channel: nationalism, pro-American values, and right-wing politics. So if you enjoy that, you'll enjoy our other channel. He's a really funny guy, Chuck, and we have good chemistry. So if you guys appreciate my content and my videos, I certainly think you'll enjoy our podcast together. So please go subscribe. I would appreciate it. Okay, with that out of the way, we're going to be talking about Trump's most recent announcement, saying he's going to be pausing all immigration from third world countries and that he's going to be looking at potentially denaturalizing and remigrating migrants who come here and disrupt domestic tranquility. Now, I'm going to move over to True Social real quick, or Twitter, and we're going to look and read through this entire True Social post because this is actually very interesting. Check this out. We'll just read through the whole thing because it's hysterical. Let's start here. So this is from Donald Trump's Truth Social post. He says, the official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people. Jesus. So we have 53 million people living in the United States who were born in different countries. Let that sink in. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people, which is right from the census, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 a year with a green card will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits for their family. Let that sink in. $30,000 a year in earning, and of course they're paying that through taxes, paying that back to the government through taxes. However, the amount they receive in benefits is a net drain on the system. So $30,000 a year with a green card, but they're getting $50,000 a year in benefits. That's called being, unfortunately, a leech. The real migrant population is much higher. The refugee burden is the leading cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey. As our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, the seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both. While the worst congressman/woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, and how badly she is treated, when her place of origin is decadent, backward, and a crime-ridden nation, which is essentially not even a country for lack of government, military, police, and schools. Trump obviously wrote this while he was drunk or something because he sounds crazy here. But he's right. And this is just the first paragraph. And of course, Trump is going to talk about, being beaten, mugged, murdered, divided, raped, all this kind of stuff, right? This is his whole thing to stir up the public about immigration. But in general, he's right. And we're going to read the second paragraph, but I just want to make a brief statement very quickly here about this issue. We have Somalian, Mexican, Venezuelan, Haitian, all the rest of it. We have so many different kinds of people living in this country who genuinely have antipathy towards America. And it is the Democrat playbook to divide this country, by exploiting the sensibilities of minorities to divide America. And this is what cultural Marxism does. So you'll have Mexicans, Somalians, Venezuelans, Haitians who live here, and they're being told it's the white man, it's America, it's the rich, it's the successful, it's the capitalists who are oppressing you. And those former groups are, in many ways, kind of responsible for the greatness and the success of this country. And so you have all these different immigrant groups, these minorities, sexual minorities, religious minorities, ethnic minorities, who are being told that this entire system is built around keeping you down and destroying you. So if you're going to bring more third worlders to the country and tell them that, then you can essentially secure electoral wins for your party for the foreseeable future. It's basically cheating. It's using grievance-based politics to exploit the attachments that particular minority groups have to their own identity. It's identity politics, so that you can win national elections without talking about any issues that actually benefit the entire country or Americans in general. It's constantly with the identity politics. And when you have so many minorities living here who are being told they're being oppressed, all you got to do is say, I'm going to stand up to the white man. I'm going to stand up to capitalism. I'm going to stand up to the bullies and protect you, which is very divisive, by the way, because you're pitting white people versus every other ethnic group. You're pitting conservatives and Republicans versus every religious or sexual minority. But anyways, that's besides the point. This is a tactic that the left is using. They're using immigration and they're weaponizing it so that they can win elections. It's a very cheap and subtle tactic, and it's not honorable. But that's that. I honestly don't think naturalized citizens should be able to vote for like at least 16, 20 years, honestly. But that's my opinion. Anyways, we're going to read the second paragraph. So it says here, even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country, end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Only reverse migration can fully cure the situation. So there you have it. Now, he said some things in here that a lot of people will probably take umbrage with. He says he's going to reverse migration. He's going to reverse or remigrate problematic populations. And remigration, obviously, is very troublesome for a lot of people. Basically, what you're doing is you're denaturalizing certain citizens who are in the United States, but are here only to cause ruckus, here only to cause issues, here, and they're functionally traitors to the country. And we'll get into that more in a second, but when you're talking about taking away people's citizenship, denaturalizing them, obviously, and then deporting them to a different country, you get into some really sticky territory, because if you can take away a naturalized citizen's citizenship, what's to say you can't take away someone who's a second gen, or a third gen, or a fourth gen, or a fifth gen? What's to say you can't take away their citizenship and then deport them to a foreign country? So, in principle, this is a problem. Spiritually, though, I do support the idea of deporting people who have dual allegiance or dual loyalty, because that is a national security threat to any serious country. That's just true. If you were in Russia and you were talking about destroying the Kremlin, ruining the Kremlin, we're going to overthrow the Kremlin, and voting against its interests, you would be a threat, a national security threat, and they would have every right and every justification, maybe not right, but every justification to remove you. So spiritually, I support it. It's just, you got to think about the implications. The other thing that he said is he was going to pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover. Now that I am fully on board with. And let me give you guys an example of what I'm talking about. Let's go over here to, I believe I have it saved. And we're going to watch a video so you guys can get an understanding of the issue that I have with immigration. Now check this out, and let me make sure that my audio levels are correct. We're going to watch this whole clip so you guys can get an understanding of the issue that we're in with mass migration and illegal immigration and having such a multi-ethnic and multiracial country with a lot of dual loyalists and people who are traitors.
Let's say the United States went to war with Colombia. Who do you side with?
Colombia.
Get the fuck out of our country. Holy fuck. Why do you side with Colombia?
Because I'm from Colombia.
You've lived here for 10 years and you're now a citizen.
Okay, still that doesn't mean I'm not gonna side with
You
my
have no...
country.
Okay, I'm looking this up. Yes, becoming a citizen requires taking the oath of allegiance. By taking the oath, you pledge to renounce any foreign allegiance, support and defend the U.S. Constitution and laws, and perform service to the country when required by law. You do not become a citizen until you have completed the oath ceremony and received your certificate of naturalization. Did you receive your certificate of naturalization?
Yes.
Did you complete the oath ceremony?
Yes.
So you're a liar? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Here, read that shit again. I do solemnly swear that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure, I don't even know what the that means, all allegiance, Colombia, and fidelity to any foreign prince or what the potentate? Is that a fucking fruit? What the is that shit? It's like a pomegranate and a fucking potato. State or sovereignty. Did you say that shit?
Yeah.
Did he just say sovereignty? Dude, it's sovereignty, bro. I mean, well, that's kind of a sidebar, but I don't know how he fucked that up. That's like it's like a basic word.
Did you say that shit?
Yeah.
So you lied to get into the United States, bruv.
I didn't lie.
You have allegiance to Colombia.
It's not allegiance.
Originally, you said Colombia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll stick to that answer.
So there you have it. Now we're going to switch screens here. We're going to go back to full screen here. Here's the thing, right? And this is where it kind of gets tricky. So this woman, this Colombian woman, goes on a podcast and she's asked by this guy, if the United States got into a war with Colombia, which side would you be on? She says Colombia. Now, here's the thing. What this functionally demonstrates is a weak identity. And I've seen plenty of other videos on the Whatever podcast. I saw one last week where Andrew Wilson was talking to a Latina, a Mexican woman, a Mexican liberal who is the daughter of immigrants that came from Mexico. Check this. He asks her the exact same question. And this is a U.S. citizen, not a naturalized citizen. This is a U.S.-born woman who is of Mexican heritage, but she's a U.S. citizen. Now, this Colombian woman is an immigrant. She's naturalized, so it's a little bit different. One is first gen, one is second gen. Either way, though, this is the problem. This is the problem. We have 37 million Mexicans living in the United States of America. 37 million. If even 5 million, 10 million, 15 million of them have a mindset in which they believe that if the United States got into a hot war with their homeland, they would defend their homeland, or they would defend the country that their parents are from. This is a serious problem, a real problem in a multi-ethnic country. It's like the Roman Empire. You have the Gauls, you had the Italians, you had the Greeks, you had all these different ethnic and racial groups living there. And as the country was beginning to decline, people's civic identity began to break apart and weaken, which is why you had all these civil wars and all these rebellions. This is the issue. This is the problem we're going to have moving forward if we have millions of people living here who are foreign-born, by the way, millions of people here who are foreign-born, and millions of people here who are second-generation or third-generation Americans who have a dual allegiance to another country. They have a strong ethnic affinity for another country, a strong attachment to another country. All these people are traitors. They are potential traitors. That's just what they are. We got to call it like it is. And I don't want to be disparaging here. I want to be as respectful as possible. I have Mexicans in my family. I'm Salvadoran personally, but I have Mexicans in my family, and I'm not going to badmouth Mexicans because that's just not how I roll. And this is something that, a lot of white people don't understand this. No shade, no disrespect. But, a lot of white people see these things and they get mad about it. And I understand. I do too. But you have to understand, these people, Hispanics, I live in LA, I'm around this all the time. They grow up in a very self-contained culture. And they hear stories about Mexico. And their grandma has a Mexican accent, their abuelita. Okay, their parents are from Mexico. Sometimes they travel to Mexico. They hang out in Mexico. They have cousins in Mexico. They know the village that their parents came from. And they live in areas, these enclaves that are 90 or 95% Mexican. Mexican grocery store, Mexican school, Mexican everything, Mexican working at the postal service. Everybody in these self-contained areas, Harbor City, Wilmington, San Pedro, Lomita, all these areas in LA, and this is just one example, where you have all these Mexicans. They're basically like parallel societies. They're more like Mexico than they are like the heartland of America. And I'm being serious when I say that to you. I am not kidding when I say that. These areas are more like some village in Mexico or some city in Mexico than they are like the United States. That's not assimilation. That's importation. That is importing a foreign culture to the United States rather than assimilating to a pre-existing culture. And that's what happens when you have millions of people come through the border, legally and illegally, in a very short period of time. Now, in the case of this Colombian woman here, this is a problem because what this demonstrates is a lack of civic identity, a lack of strong American identity. This woman swore an oath to the country. She said, "I renounce my allegiance to any foreign state or sovereignty." So she lied about that because she still has an allegiance to Colombia, and then she got U.S. citizenship. And this is what happens when you hand citizenship to just anybody. Okay? This is the problem that you get. You can give people citizenship, you can bring people to the United States, but letting them hate the country, having them act as traitors, allowing them to have dual allegiance, that's a real problem in a country of 350 million people. When you have Venezuelans, Mexicans, Haitians, Somalians, Hondurans, every ethnicity in the world living here, and they have dual allegiances to their homelands, they could betray this country. And I'm not going to do this thing where I badmouth or shit talk Mexicans. I'm not about that. I have, like I said, Mexicans in my family. They're wonderful. But here's the issue. And this really is a cause for concern. And we all have a right to be concerned about this. We have 37 million Mexicans living in the United States. 37 million. Most of them are like first or second gen. Some third gen at the latest. And when I say 37 million Mexicans living here, we're not really talking about the Mexicans who came here during the Bracero program or the Hispanos or the Tejanos who've been here for a long time and have a real history in this country. We're talking about recent economic migrants living in America. 37 million. Guys, that's a lot. 37 million Mexicans living here. 37 million. That's almost as much as that 37 million Mexicans living here is almost as much as like the black population, black Americans who have been here since the 1600s. Like, that's insane. That level of demographic change is insane in just a short period of time. And there's not to say that there's anything wrong with that in particular, but just put it into perspective. Okay, there are black people who are descendants of slaves who have been here since before 1808 when the U.S. government banned the slave trade. So these black people have been here for a long time, since the beginning of this country. And in the past 2 or 3 generations, you've had 37 million Mexicans come to this country. And many of them still have an attachment to Mexico. They still see themselves as Mexican. And you see this in LA when they're out there waving the Mexican flag, saying, fuck the white man, fuck white boy. You hear that kind of shit at these protests. It is a serious issue. They have not had time to assimilate. And many of them are hostile to the idea of assimilating. And what makes it worse is we have a very polarized media environment. We have a very polarized political environment. We have a very fragmented media environment. And the issues between the left and the right become more irreconcilable every passing year. So we're in a situation now where you have millions of Mexicans living in this country who identify more with Mexico than the United States, have more of an allegiance to Mexico than the United States. And even if it's only 5 or 10 million of them, this presents a real problem in a hypothetical situation. If the United States gets into a war with Mexico, these people could defect, fight for Mexico, defend Mexico, maybe cause an insurrection, maybe secede. California is mostly Hispanic. I mean, this presents real national security issues moving forward. These are things that have to be addressed. You have 53 million foreign-born people living in this country, 37 million Mexicans, most of whom are here as economic migrants, who've only been here for 1 or 2 generations, 3 at the most, and they still have not assimilated, and they still don't see themselves as American. That's a serious problem. When we talk about assimilation, we're not saying give up your culture, become white. We're going to ban your culture. We're going to make it illegal to speak Spanish in public. We're going to force you to dress a certain way. You can't wear sombreros. You can't wear Mexican boots in public anymore. That's banned. That's illegal because it reminds us of Mexico. No, that's not what we say when we say assimilate. When people say assimilate, it means to renounce your allegiance to a former country, see yourself as American, love the country, be a patriot, and do not fight against the federal government for trying to enforce immigration law. Because that's what we're seeing. You have Mexicans who are illegal immigrants hiding out in sanctuary cities that are mostly Mexican. I can't think of a bigger form of treachery than that. That is treacherous. That is betrayal. And that is, if anybody considers themselves to be a real American, I know I do. Anybody who considers themselves to be a real American would hate this situation and think that this is absurd. You're going to give these people citizenship? You really want people like that to have citizenship? People who will betray your country in a heartbeat for their home country? You really want to give citizenship to people like that? You really want to give citizenship to people like Ilhan Omar? Citizenship is a privilege in this country. I am glad to be born in this country. I am grateful I was born in this country. This is the greatest country in the history of the human species, which is why I'm a patriot. And say what you want, this country's flawed. It has its problems with Jim Crow, with segregation, with slavery. But in the context of that time, things were different. And this country and the West broadly has made serious efforts to reconcile those past wrongs. And we can be honest about that. There's no need to lie about it. There's no need to brush it under the rug. But no civilization and no country on earth, no country being the United States and no civilization being Western civilization, has done more to advance the rights and well-being of minorities than us. No civilization. The West has done more to advance the representation and the political enfranchisement of minorities than any other civilization on this planet. And if you can't recognize that, you should not be here. You should go somewhere else and live somewhere else. Because otherwise you're a parasite and you're a potential national security risk. That's just true. That's just a fact. It's gotten out of hand at this point. We have this Afghan national who was brought here in 2021, who's a radical Muslim, travel from the West Coast to the capital, which is on the East Coast, thousands of miles, and murdered. And, you can speculate, is this guy a CIA asset? This guy did fight with the United States against Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. He was a collaborator. That's why he was brought to America. But either way, people like this shouldn't be in the country. I'm going to just keep it real. People like this should not be in the country. Dual loyalists, traitors, radical Muslims, Mexican nationalists, these people need to get out of here and they have to leave. People like this woman, this Colombian woman, I get it. The parents, they inculcate this kind of mindset and affinity for these other countries. And when the mass media that's controlled by the left is telling them, don't assimilate, celebrate your culture, white people are bad, the United States is racist, because that's basically what the left says at this point. And it's to exploit these kinds of ethnic and, these kinds of ethnic and minority sensibilities. It's exploitative, it's divisive in nature, because they don't want you to see yourself as a full American citizen. They want you to see yourself as an oppressed minority, and they take advantage of it. When this is the environment that you're growing up in, all Mexicans, many of them are illegals, your parents are immigrants or your grandparents are immigrants, you haven't had time to assimilate, you've been living in this one Mexican enclave your whole life, and you're living in a media environment in which you're being told that anybody who's right of Ben Shapiro or anybody who's a right-winger or a conservative is a racist, neo-Nazi who wants to kill you and kill your family because you're Mexican and deport you. Of course they're not going to be loyal to the United States. Of course they're not going to identify with the country. And the left is exploiting this, which is why I think they're an evil satanic cult. Not literally, but figuratively. Some of them, though, literally. This is the situation that we are in with mass migration. It's a real problem, seriously. And I say this as a Hispanic. My family came here in the 70s, early 70s, my grandma and grandfather, naturalized citizens. They've been living here for over half a century. Neither of them have ever committed a crime. My grandmother is a Catholic, devout Catholic. She serves her community. She takes care of the elderly. She takes care of the sick. She goes to church, hasn't missed a single mass in the 50 years, in the more than 50 years that she's lived in this country. She's lived in the same exact apartment for 50 years. She pays her taxes, she works hard, she doesn't cause trouble, she takes care of the community. That's an example of a quality immigrant, in my opinion. Those are the kinds of people that you want. She's been a net benefit to her community and to this country since she's gotten here. My grandfather, naturalized U.S. citizen. He's been here since the 70s. He raised a successful family. He has 3 successful kids. He has 2 daughters who are working hard. They're making money. One of them is a software engineer working for a software company as a systems engineer, making $100,000 a year working remote. More than that now. He raised 2 very intelligent, highly educated daughters and a very hardworking and educated son, who's my dad. And my grandfather, to this day, still devout Catholic, still goes to church. He has been driving 18-wheelers across this country, delivering for the United States since he got here. He's in his 70s now. He's still doing it. He hasn't committed a crime. He owns his home. He's quiet. He stays to himself. He works hard. That is what immigrants are supposed to do. That is what a real quality immigrant looks like. You don't come here and say, fuck the United States. That's wrong. That's not right. People like Ilhan Omar, what even is that? I mean, this woman, Ilhan Omar, is a Somalian Muslim who spends more time complaining about racism and the United States and white people than anything else, than actually serving her district. This woman should not be in Congress. This woman should be in Somalia. Let me give you guys an even better example. We have this guy named Omar Fateh. Omar Fateh ran for the mayorship in Minneapolis. Okay, he ran for the mayorship in Minneapolis. Omar Fateh was born to 2 Somalian immigrants who were granted citizenship while Somalia was undergoing a period of turmoil. They came here. Omar Fateh was born in Washington, D.C. He went to school in the DMV area. He graduated from high school in Falls Church, Virginia, which is near where I used to live. So this guy, Omar Fateh, get this, graduates from a high school in Falls Church, Virginia, decides he wants to get into politics, but what does he do? Does he stay in D.C. and help the local population? Or does he stay in Falls Church and help the people of Falls Church? Does he do that? No, he doesn't. What does he do? He flees across the country. He moves to Minnesota because it's a Somalian enclave. He becomes a senator or something like that. He works in Congress for a little while. Then he decides he wants to run for mayor of Minneapolis in 2025. He was on the cusp of winning the mayorship in Minneapolis. And you know why he lost? Because he was a part of the wrong Somalian clan. He was the wrong type of Somalian. He was a part of the Darude clan, and the Hawiti clan is the second biggest, or first biggest, one of the two, second or first biggest clan of Somalians in Minneapolis. You have these two clans in Minneapolis, Darude and Hawiti. Omar Fateh moves from Falls Church, Virginia to Minneapolis, runs for mayor, and loses because of clan politics. And when people say import the third world, become the third world, this is a perfect example of that. I'm going to just keep it real. That's exactly what this is. I mean, Omar Fateh, his parents come from and I'm not trying to be mean, but let's just call it what it is. His parents come from a failed state that is run by warlords and has a clannish third world culture. Okay, that's just true. It's been in a civil war for God knows how long. They don't even have an air force or a military there. It's like a war zone, a tribal war zone in Somalia. They come here, and rather than being patriotic Americans who assimilate and love the country, they say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move from Virginia to Minneapolis, run for mayorship, and I'm only doing it because people who are of the same ethnicity, who are also refugees, who are also immigrants from Somalia, live there in large numbers. And I'm going to take advantage of that to win the mayorship. He's not from Minnesota. He doesn't love Minneapolis. He's not a patriot. He doesn't care about Minnesota. He moved there for political power, and he wanted to take advantage of his ethnicity. That's just what it is. People like that should not be here. People like that need to go home or be deported. Because there is nothing more un-American than that. Imagine this. Imagine me, Brandis Bonos. I was born in LA, I've lived in Texas, and I've lived in Virginia, and now I live in California again. Now imagine this. Imagine if I moved from California, moved from LA to New Jersey or Virginia, where there's a large number of El Salvadorans in a particular congressional district. And I didn't move there because I love New Jersey or because I care about New Jersey or because I care about the district. I moved there because I wanted to take advantage of my ethnicity as an El Salvadoran, and I wanted to weaponize that to play identity politics with other Salvadorans who live in New Jersey. What's more un-American than that? That's not about loving your state, defending your state, being loyal to your state. That's weaponizing your race and weaponizing your ethnicity or instrumentalizing your ethnicity to get political power. Like, that's wrong. That's not right. That's not assimilation. And this guy lost because he was a part of the wrong clan of Somalians. And you know what? Good riddance. I am glad this guy lost. I am so glad this guy lost because maybe now he'll understand what happens when you betray America. What happens when you betray your country? What is more unpatriotic and un-American than that? Can you think of anything? Because I cannot. I cannot think of anything more un-American than abandoning your state, going somewhere else, and then weaponizing or utilizing your ethnicity to get political power. That's very third world. That is like a very third world mindset, a very third world attitude, a very immigrant attitude. And this is the issue that you have when you have second geners and first geners who do not identify with America, who aren't patriotic, who don't love the country. These people become traitors, or the potential of becoming traitors. So it's a serious problem, and that's why I support what Trump is doing. Pause all third world immigration. We have a beautifully diverse country already. We have a lot of Asians here, Mexicans, Indians, Venezuelans, whites. We got everything here, black people. And we have a wonderful country as it is, a wonderfully diverse country as it is. But we have a lot of traitors living here, a lot of dual loyalists living here. And until we get that situation sorted out, until we get that situation ironed out, we need to pause migration from everywhere and weed out the traitors and deal with the dual loyalists and suppress them and deport them. Because otherwise, this situation is going to get worse and worse and worse. And we already see the Democrat Party gaining momentum. Trump has 3.5 years to resolve the situation. And if he doesn't resolve this, he's going to put us in hell. He's going to leave us in a hellish scenario. This is why I'll never vote for a Democrat. Ever in my life. I never in my life will vote for a Democrat because they take advantage of us. They take advantage of our ethnicity. They take advantage of our race. They take advantage of whatever someone's sexual orientation is. And they tell you that this country hates you, and in order to be protected, vote for me. Ma'am, I'm not with that. Okay, I'm an American. And I love the fact that I'm Salvadoran and black. And I have an appreciation for my ancestry and my culture and my people. But at the end of the day, I don't have an allegiance to El Salvador. I have an allegiance to one country. It's America. That's that. That's my obligation as a citizen who was lucky enough to be born here. And I wish El Salvador the best. And I want that country to be safe and stable. But I don't have an allegiance to that country. This is a serious issue. And somebody has to do something about this, because otherwise the Democrats are going to continue to flood this country with migrants. Legal or illegal, it doesn't matter. Dual loyalists. They're going to be dual loyalists everywhere. And we already have enough dual loyalists in this country, and you guys know who I'm talking about. Ben Shapiro, Barry Weiss, Josh Hammer. But is it really wise to bring more dual loyalists to this country? I don't think it is. We have 350 million people living here. And there is a significant number of them who have a stronger attachment to another country than this country. This is the thing. When we talk about dual loyalty and identity, it's about consciousness. Do you see yourself as American? Do you love America? Do you support America? Are you pro-Western civilization? Are you pro-American values? Would you defend the country if necessary? Fight for the country if necessary? Do you support it in a war against your homeland? Would you defend it in a war against your homeland, given the right pretext? Okay, I'm not saying just for anything, but given the right pretext, if it was existential, life or death, you have to know what side you're on. I mean, these are basic questions. These are basic fundamental questions. And if people cannot answer these questions with certainty, that's a real problem, because that exposes a particular mindset and a particular affinity. And this will make them traitors in the long run. So that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about Operation Charlotte's Web here, because this actually dovetails very nicely. So let me move over here. We're going to bring up this article. Operation Charlotte's Web. Now, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is rich. Let me shift over to full screen here. This is rich. So this dovetails nicely into what we were just talking about with dual loyalty, Omar Fateh, Ilhan Omar, these fake Americans, these fraudulent Americans, these fake patriots. They're not patriots, actually. I shouldn't even say fake patriots, just fake Americans. You forfeit your ability to call yourself that, by the way, when you're a traitor. You can no longer say, I'm an American. You're a Somalian. You forfeited that right. You've given that up. You've chosen where your loyalty is. I mean, how can you tell me that Somalians are assimilating? They're not. But how can you tell me Somalians are assimilating when you have Somalian rape gangs, Somalian criminals, Somalian terrorists living on welfare, roaming the streets that were once safe, roaming through public services? I mean, that's wrong. These people should not be in this country. And the fact that they were lucky enough to even be granted citizenship in the first place, and then turn around and say, fuck the country that gave them citizenship, is ridiculous. It is completely absurd. And this is what happens. They live in these self-contained, all Somalian communities. The mosque is Somalian. The neighborhood is mostly Somalian. The teachers are Somalian. Their friends are Somalian. Their family is Somalian. They come from immigrants. I mean, that's their whole life is Somalia. Somalia, they got a Somalian flag in their house, pictures of Somalia in their house. They never lose that consciousness. They never lose that affinity for their home country, which makes it impossible for them to completely assimilate and become American, to see themselves as American, to love the country. And then you have these Democrats who are enabling it, and these local community activists who are paid by NGOs and the councils, telling these people, oh, you don't have to assimilate. Oh, yeah, America's racist. They're coming after you. They hate you. By having expectations and standards and wanting them to assimilate. This is the problem. America is a nation. America is a people. Okay, America is a particular nation that is comprised of particular people. We have a shared language, shared accent, shared history, shared symbols, shared landmass. I mean, I have grandparents who fought in Vietnam. My great uncle served in World War II. I have ancestors who were slaves on my mom's side. So, like, America is a real place. People's grandparents fought wars for this country, died for this country, fought against their own family during the Civil War. The Irish fought against their own brothers and fathers in some cases and died to end slavery and died to become Americans. And all of that is just being erased and eroded. And the heritage is we're being told the heritage doesn't matter now because apparently America is just an idea and anybody can become an American. Well, apparently that's not fucking working because these people are not assimilating. Because America is just this idea. America is just the first 10 amendments and freedom of speech. And I don't have to assimilate because I can do whatever I want. To them, America just means you can do whatever the fuck you want because of the First Amendment. To them, America is gay sex, being able to get high, being able to have a weapon, a gun. Like to them, America is just freedom without responsibility. That's what America is to them. And it's absurd. It's an absurd proposition. All the framers and founders understood if a country built on self-governance was going to survive, you would need a strong, disciplined, moral, and religious population that was unified and had a strong civic identity and a strong sense of duty and morality. And that is being killed by the left. And you have these foreign interlopers living here who are completely betraying what this country even stood for. It's one thing to come here, assimilate, and uphold that. It's another thing to come here and betray that. And that's just like completely absurd. It's indefensible. It's all indefensible. So I don't know what to say. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And with the Somalians, you can't call yourself America First or a real American or any of that shit. You have to earn that. You have to become an American. You know, people died to be called an American. People died to become citizens. And these people just come here and piss on the flag and piss on the country and piss on our values and piss on white people and piss on America and piss on the Constitution to take advantage of our kindness and our resources. And it cannot continue. Ilhan Omar is a leech. Rashida Tlaib is a leech. Omar Fateh is a leech. I mean, just imagine this, moving from D.C. to Minnesota because there's more Somalians in Minnesota and then instrumentalizing that to get political power. Like, what even is that? What the fuck is that? And I'm starting to get irritated with this because this is the kind of stuff that leads people to say we want total remigration, which is a ridiculous idea, but we want total remigration. We want a white ethno state. It is shit like this. It is these foreign interlopers, these traitors that have more of an allegiance to Somalia or Mexico or Israel than to the United States of America. And this is identity. This is what happens with identity. People on a human level, their consciousness, their psyche, it's hard for them to build an attachment to a particular country when they're always being reminded about the places that their parents came from or their grandparents came from, or how racist the country they live in now is. And it's always being fed to them, this propaganda. It makes these people traitors. It creates traitors. I mean, just imagine 37 million Mexicans who have come here in the past 40, 50 years. Probably even less than that. 37 million Mexicans, guys. 37 million. 37 million. That is a lot of Mexicans. And like I said, no issue with Mexicans. I like Mexicans, but they live in these self-contained enclaves and they have more of an affinity for Mexico than the United States. This is about identity. It's about how do you identify? Do you identify as American? Do you understand your obligations as a citizen? Do you understand and have respect and pay homage to the people who created this glorious nation, the framers. Are you a patriot? Are you willing to defend this country from existential threats? I mean, this Colombian woman swore an oath to the country. Swore an oath to the country, man. And still says in front of a camera with complete resolve that she is Colombia first. What? Are you insane? We have people here who are Mexico first, Colombia first, Israel first, Somalia first. This shit has to stop. I mean, really, like, this is ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And these people are running for Congress. They're working their way into our government, which is even more indefensible. These are not patriots. The only people who should be in the government are patriots. If you're not a patriot, preferably a Christian, but if you're not at the least a patriot, America first, you should not be in the government under any circumstances. If you're a naturalized citizen, you should not be in government. Sorry, no. Naturalized citizens should not be able to run for Congress. Under no circumstances. At the most, maybe like a local position as like a mayor, at the most, or some kind of city official. But to be a member of the House of Representatives as somebody who was born in a different country, absurd. Completely ridiculous. Completely and utterly ridiculous. It's just completely indefensible, this whole thing. This whole thing is ridiculous. Anyways, with that said, we're going to continue. We're going to talk about Operation Charlotte's Web here. So it says here, local small businesses will be paying for Charlotte's Web for months. Over the weekend, immigrant-owned businesses across the city reopened with caution. Some kept their doors locked, others operated with a skeleton crew, and many remained closed Monday. The economic ramifications of U.S. Customs and Border Protection's Operation Charlotte's Web are immeasurable at this time. But the trickle-down effects will be felt throughout the city for months to come at local restaurants, construction sites, grocery stores, and inside homes. So it's saying the trickle-down effects in terms of profit loss will be felt for months at local restaurants, construction sites, grocery stores, and inside homes. Now, why do you think that is? It's because all of the people working here in Charlotte are illegals. That's the only reason why. Your business would not suffer due to a crackdown from ICE if you weren't working with illegals, if you weren't hiring illegals at local restaurants, construction sites, and grocery stores. It's indefensible. It goes on, it says, the city has committed $100,000 to help households pay rent and utilities, WFA reported. The aid will go to income-eligible families who lost wages or faced financial hardship as businesses closed and residents stayed home out of fear of encountering federal agents. Economic and social disruption spread citywide, from fruit vendors on Central Avenue to a country club in Myers Park. Pasta and provisions owner Tommy George washed dishes at his Myers Park location last week after an employee's husband was detained. He says, quote, in a way, the consequences are in every neighborhood, George told the Washington Post. So that means illegals are working in every neighborhood in Charlotte. Let that sink in. In a survey, by the way, just imagine this. You have an entire economy, a city, its entire economy is built on illegal labor. I mean, dude. Let it all burn down. Let it all fall. Talk about putting America last. It says here, in a survey sent to local business owners in Charlotte last week by Charlotte East, a nonprofit serving East Charlotte, businesses reported daily losses averaging $2,500. Losses range from $200 at small tiendas to $12,000 for one general contractor, according to survey responses. So these businesses that are hiring illegal labor are losing $2,500 a day, $2,500. Daily losses. And you know what I say? I say, let it all burn down. Any business that is hiring illegals and paying them a subpar wage so they don't have to pay what an American is owed, any business like that is illegitimate. It should completely burn down. It should become insolvent. It should go bankrupt. It should be foreclosed. I don't know. Go out of business. I don't care. This cannot work. These businesses cannot operate. If you're operating in an American city, you need to have Americans working there before illegals. Completely insane. It says, and this is what makes it worse, by the way. Of the 90 surveyed businesses, 47% were closed for the last 3 days. 70% of survey respondents were located in East Charlotte. Now, hear this. Listen to this. This is the big picture. It says, of the more than 400 independently owned East Side businesses, between 50 and 70% are first or second generation immigrant owned. First or second generation immigrant owned. So get this. These people are either born in a foreign country, they're born in India, they're born in China, they're born in Mexico, they're born in Africa. They immigrate to the United States, swear an oath to the Constitution, to renounce loyalty or allegiance to any foreign country, swear an oath to defend the Constitution, become an American citizen, naturalized, go through the whole process, only to immigrate to a city, an American city, that has a heavy immigrant population and then hire illegal immigrants. I mean, dude, can you think of a greater example of exploitation and resource extraction than this? You come from a different country, swear an oath to America, go through the process, renounce any former allegiance, become an American citizen, and then hire non-Americans to work for your business so that you can have a greater profit margin. And this is what happens with post-national and globalist politics. We're eroding what it means to be a nation. We're eroding what it means to be a country. It doesn't matter anymore. We're just like this economic opportunity zone, this parking lot for the third world, this parking lot for anyone to just come here, go inside, and take as much out of it as they possibly can. As much money, as much resources as they possibly can, have no loyalty to the country, and then send money back home. Or steal money from the country by not paying actual Americans. This is why Americans are fed up with immigration, because we are getting fucked. We're getting sodomized and molested by these people. And I'm sorry to put it in such graphic terms, but this is what's happening. I mean, this whole system is completely insane. It's completely indefensible. Completely indefensible. To be a first or second generation American, foreign born, or the children of somebody who was born in a different country, and then hire illegal immigrants, not even American citizens, to work at your business after this country was kind enough to let you in. Or kind enough to let your parents in. Talk about no loyalty. This is what happens when nationalism and patriotism dies. Nations don't take themselves serious, they become weak, they become open to global special interests, and any kind of national identity or loyalty to a particular country or nation, which is to say people, in this case Americans, dies. Americans help Americans. That is our duty. That is our obligation. As a business owner, it is your obligation to help Americans, especially if you're an immigrant and you were lucky enough to come here. What are you doing here if you're not helping America? You need to go back home. And this is why people are fed up, because now it's gone from being a net asset to the country and being a patriot and making the country stronger by providing your labor, intelligence, and expertise, to now just like anybody can come here and get whatever they want out of us. While by the way, having no loyalty to the country. This is economic migration encapsulated. And this juxtaposes with the Koreans, the Vietnamese, the Japanese. You know, the Japanese have been here 5 or 6 generations. I live around them in Torrance. Torrance is a Japanese enclave. It's a mostly Japanese city, or heavily Japanese city. These people were put into internment camps. These people were forced into infantries to fight against Japan. They heavily intermarry. They're very intelligent. They contribute positively to the country. They work hard. They're very, very, very intelligent. Some of the highest achieving Americans in the country, Japanese Americans. There's like 700,000 of them in the country. And they see themselves as American because they have a history here. They have stories of their grandparents who were put into internment camps, or grandparents who fought in Vietnam, or grandparents who fought in World War II against Japan because of what they were doing. I mean, those are real Americans. They're Japanese, but they earned their stake. They became American. They have an identity as American because of history. The same thing with the Vietnamese who came here during the Vietnam War. Many of them had strong family structures, were highly educated, were civil servants, were bureaucrats in Vietnam. And they came here and assimilated and became patriots. And they love America because they came here during a war, a real war. And America brought them in. And that's why they love this country, because they have an appreciation for it. These economic migrants don't have any appreciation for this country beyond what it does for them financially, which is why there's no loyalty. And that's how you get people like this Colombian girl or these Mexican liberals who say, I'm putting Colombia or Mexico first. Dude, you got a fucking problem. There's a problem with that. This country has done right by my family, which is why I support this country and I love this country. Sorry, just true. And I'm not going to go for the DNC, Democrat bullshit talking points where they say, you're an oppressed minority. What's so great about this country and what's so great about America, unlike any other country, is I can say I'm an American. And I don't have to feel weird about that or like that's not right or it doesn't roll off my tongue or that's not my identity. I can just say I'm an American. I'm a whole, full American. You know, it'd be harder to do that if I was in Japan, right? It would take time. It'd be harder to do that if I was in China or Russia or Britain or wherever else. But I can say I am a full, whole American. Anybody who can't say that, anybody who can't answer that question or who can't claim that title and be a patriot shouldn't even be in the government and preferably should not be allowed into this country. And that's how I feel about it, because it's getting to a point where we're just being taken advantage of. But anyways, that's that. So all these businesses in East Charlotte are losing exorbitant amounts of money because there's skeleton crews that are operating or they're hiring illegal immigrants. They're not hiring enough people. They're not paying people what they deserve to be paid. They're substituting American labor with illegal labor. They are, by the way, that makes you a traitor. That makes you a traitor against the country. Every construction site, grocery store, local restaurant, I say tank the whole economy. I hope the entire economy of East Charlotte goes completely under and that every illegal there is deported. Because this is not right. This is not right, man. This is wrong. None of this is okay. It's completely extractive. I don't care about the GDP or the economy or any of this. I care about Americans and putting our country first and putting our nation first. People need to understand what it means to be a nationalist. I'm a nationalist. And I say that because I care about the cohesion of the nation, the strength of the nation, and putting the nation first and making sure that the state feels obligated to put the nation first, rather than Silicon Valley or Wall Street or global special interests. It's a very basic concept, and that the nation should be based on a common American identity, so everybody feels a sense of familiarity in this country. And there's a sense of national unity, a sense of nationhood. You can't have that with economic migrants coming here in large numbers, not assimilating, living in enclaves, and then having, millions of people, tens of millions of people here who are foreign born. It's very difficult to have a real sense of national identity that way because there's so many different people with different backgrounds here. So spiritually, I support what Trump is doing. You just got to deal with the legality of all of it and the implications, but spiritually, he's on the right track. But this is why I say I'm a nationalist. We need to look out for each other. America is a nation, a real nation. I'm sorry, Ilhan Omar, Omar Fateh, Rashida Tlaib. These are not Americans, dude. These are not real Americans. These are fake Americans. These are American citizens, but not real Americans. They haven't earned that title yet. Sorry, they forfeited that. These are parasites. These are traitors. That's what they are. Omar Fateh, what he did is unforgivable. Completely unforgivable. There's nothing more third world and backwards than moving from your state to another one to take advantage of the ethnicity of the state you moved to and your clan affiliations so that you can win a political race. Like, dude, that is unforgivable. That is so un-American. No sense of loyalty to his own country. No sense of loyalty to his own state. Just a third worlder in a suit. And, you know, we gotta nip this in the bud because this is getting out of control. It's gotten out of control. It's been out of control. And until somebody cracks down on this, we're going to continue to have these problems. And somebody calls us out. And I'm the one doing it. I don't have an issue with Mexicans who are patriots, Somalians who are patriots, Venezuelans and Colombians who are patriots. Those people are on our team. We're one nation here. That's how I see it. We're a one nation. America is one nation under God. That's in the Pledge of Allegiance. We are one nation under God. These people obviously didn't get the memo. They're not American. They're not Americans if that's their mindset. That is completely un-American. That's anti-American. It's just this whole situation needs to just be completely overturned. But anyway, so that's that. That's Operation Charlotte's Web. Last thing I want to talk about. So I was going to talk about the Jewish Leadership Conference. Initially, I was going to react to it, but I decided against doing that. And I figured instead I would just recap it and talk about it. So this will be the last segment. Let's switch back to full screen here. This will be the last segment. Actually, we'll pull up a document here. We'll do this. We can go through one of these articles about it because this is actually interesting. The Jewish Leadership Conference, the Tikva. Let's see. We've got all these Jewish outlets. Jesus. Let's see. We got one from the New York Post. Because this is something that I need to respond to and really address because this is against our interests. This is against our movement. So we have to debunk these people and call these people out. So I guess I can't find anything here. I guess I'll just give you guys a recap. So we'll switch back over to full screen. So last week, January 16th, or almost 2 weeks ago now, January 16th, Dan Senior hosted a leadership conference. It was the Jewish Leadership Conference, and the two big guest speakers he had there, were Bari Weiss and Ben Shapiro. And of course, at this conference, there was Zionists and Jews in the crowd. There was 1,100 people in attendance. But of course, what they talked about at this conference was everything that's been going on in the past 2 months. Well, really, 2-3 months. Tucker, Candace, Nick Fuentes, the MAGA Civil War, young men, Gen Z, online radicalism, anti-Semitism, all of that stuff. But here's the big takeaway. Ben Shapiro and Bari Weiss are trying to frame America First as a radical online movement of angry young white men who feel like they have been disrespected and feel like they have been betrayed by the system. That's how they're trying to characterize it, right? It's young, angry white men who are, who feel like they've been disrespected and disregarded, and they're looking for somebody to blame, so they're blaming the Jews. That's how they're characterizing America First. We must understand, we can never, ever, ever, as America First patriots, we can never, ever, ever forfeit the framing of any of this to people like Bari Weiss or Ben Shapiro. These foreign interlopers, these traitors, these dual loyalists. That's what they are. And we'll get into that in a moment. But the reason why we can never, ever, under any circumstances, forfeit the framing to these people, to these traitors, is because once we forfeit the framing of America First to them, it's all over. It's all over. We will lose control of the framing. We will lose control of what defines the movement. This has nothing to do with anti-Semitism or the Third Reich or Hitler. It has nothing to do with any of that. America First is about rehabilitating the soul of our country, renewing the soul of America. The military-industrial complex, the neocon interventionist foreign policy that has put our country into massive debt. The price of college and tuition, everything becoming more expensive, inflation, all these dual loyalists living in our country, no sense of nationhood. Our country basically functioning as an economic zone for the third world. The fact that radical feminism, transgender totalitarianism, gender ideology, cultural Marxism, communism, all this stuff, these poisonous ideologies are seeping through our society and dividing us. America First is saying we need to punch through all that and put our country and our people first. We have traitors working in the government, Mike Waltz, the National Security Council, who have more of a loyalty to Qatar, or more of a loyalty to Saudi Arabia, or more of a loyalty to Israel than the United States of America. The corruption, the Epstein files, the Steele dossier, Carter Page, all of it. The assassination attempts on Donald Trump and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The fact that it feels like our country is unraveling in real time. The censorship regime, the ADL, Right Wing Watch, Media Matters, all of it destroying our lives for saying anything that is not politically correct. America First is about destroying all of that and putting Americans first, building beautiful cities, bringing back manufacturing, putting Americans back to work, lowering the cost of living, lowering inflation, cutting these entitlement programs, dealing with the debt, dealing with the deficit, not getting involved in more foreign wars that don't benefit us strategically, putting Israel in check, regulating the Middle East rather than allowing Israel to do whatever they want and destroying our reputation in the process. Ending this kind of anti-white, anti-America ideology that has become so common in the past 12 years, which is dividing our country, by the way, and ruining our country. That is what it means to be America First, being pro-America, patriotic, nationalistic, loving America, creating families again, dealing with the demographic decline. America First is about rehabilitating the soul of our country. It's not just material. Ben doesn't understand this. It is about rehabilitating the soul of our country. We've dealt with Black nationalists, Mexican nationalists, radical feminists, transgender militants, Antifa, literally destroying and denigrating and defacing statues of Washington, Franklin, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, American patriots. And sure, these men were flawed, and you can take umbrage with their own personal behavior. That's fine. People do the same thing with Martin Luther King. They take umbrage with the fact that he was a pastor, but he was also a philanderer. Okay, you can have issues with their own personal behavior, but you have to look at them in the context of what they've done historically and how they've changed the trajectory of mankind in history. We as Americans are the children of the most glorious nation on earth that these men gave birth to. And these people have no appreciation or gratitude for this country whatsoever. All these traitors, these Israel firsters. Ben Shapiro calls himself a real patriotic American. I love America. We got to make sure that when our kids are 4 or 5 years old, if we don't want them to turn out like Zoran Mamdani and hate America, we got to make sure they're going to baseball games and they're celebrating the 4th of July, turn them into real patriotic Americans. That's what Ben Shapiro said at this conference. I shit you not. He literally said that. He said, if you want American children to be patriotic and not end up like Zoran Mamdani and end up a communist, you need to teach them to love America at a young age. And I agree with that, but I love how he only says that in the context of juxtaposing it against Zoran Mamdani's politics, because he's a radical Muslim communist. Now he's a patriot. Okay, right. But he wasn't a patriot when Donald Trump wanted to bring back manufacturing to America. He wasn't a patriot when he said the Iraq war was a mistake. He wasn't a patriot when he said anti-white racism is a real problem. He wasn't a patriot when he said he wanted to put tariffs on people that were taking advantage of America's resources and hollowing out our domestic industry. He wasn't a patriot then, Ben. You didn't support him then. But now that he's taking money from Miriam Adelson and the Zionist lobby and AIPAC, now you support Trump. Figures. This is why when we talk about Ben Shapiro and Bari Weiss, don't trust these people. Yoram Mazzoni, they're dual loyalists. That's what they are. Ben Shapiro, he has personal relationships with people in the Ministry of Defense. He's defending Yoav Gallant. He's defending Ben Gvir. He's defending Smotrich. He's defending Netanyahu. He's friends with Netanyahu. He said Bibi Netanyahu should be the president of the United States. He literally said that. I shit you not. Ben Shapiro literally said that. Ben Shapiro is going to the Knesset. He's watching Trump give speeches in Israel. His wife is an Israeli, not even an American. This guy runs a media company, and he has 2 Jews working there. Half of the staff are Jews. At Daily Wire. Prager University, another good example. Dennis Prager is a Jew, and the CEO at Prager University, Marissa Straight, is a former IDF Unit 8200 military intelligence officer from Israel, or for Israel, but she was born here. She was born in LA. She was born in America, an American citizen who fought in a foreign country's military and their intelligence apparatus, and then comes here and becomes the CEO, is appointed by another Jew to become the CEO of one of the biggest propaganda companies for conservative politics in America. And it's being run by 2 Jews and a former IDF military intelligence officer. And you want to talk about dual loyalty? Is that not dual loyalty? You know what? My family's from El Salvador, but I'm not going to El Salvador every week or every month. And I'm not marrying an El Salvador national. And I'm not hanging out in El Salvador 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year and doing politics with the government over there. That's what Ben Shapiro is doing. And if the forefathers saw what he was doing, they would spit on this guy. They would say, "You're a traitor, Ben Shapiro. You need to get out of this country." They would yeet him out of this country to Israel. You're hanging out in Israel. You got property in Israel. You got an Israeli wife, not even an American wife. At least marry a Jew from America. This guy married an Israeli. Israeli wife, hanging out with the Ministry of Defense, hanging out at the Knesset, hanging out with Bibi Netanyahu, says Bibi Netanyahu should be the president. I mean, what even is this? Lives in an all-Jewish neighborhood in South Florida. Ben Shapiro, a conservative household name. A household conservative, one of the biggest pundits in America for what, 15 years now? That Ben Shapiro? I mean, this guy is a complete dual loyalist. And he's telling us that we need to be patriotic. Sir, you need to be patriotic. Practice what you preach, buddy. I mean, really, this is getting ridiculous. It's getting out of hand. Bari Weiss is the same way. Bari Weiss went to some university in Israel, went through all these Hebrew school programs. She probably speaks Hebrew, shit. And this is the problem. Larry Ellison, Paul Singer. I mean, it's this whole thing with the Jews and the Jewish Leadership Conference, all these conferences, all these organizations. Paul Singer, Leslie Wexner, Ronald Schwartzman, the Manhattan Institute, Claremont, Bill Ackman, Israel Englander. I mean, all these Jewish billionaires, Larry Ellison, all these Jewish billionaires that are giving money to Harvard, giving money to Israel, giving money to the IDF, giving money to all these Jewish community centers, these Jewish organizations. And they go to these Jewish organizations like the ZOA, like the World Jewish Congress, like the Republican Jewish Conference, like the World Zionist Organization, like B'nai B'rith, like Friends of Israel and the IDF. It is literally transnational. If you look at the World Jewish Congress's mission statement, it is literally to coordinate with Jews across the diaspora in 100 different countries to protect and serve the interests of the Jewish people, or to protect and serve the Jewish people and advance their interests. That is what the World Jewish Congress exists for. Imagine if you have the same, and of course, all the people, Ronald Lauder, another billionaire Jew, is the chairman of the World Jewish Congress. So you have these transnational Jewish organizations and powerful Jews from all across the world, in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, in North America, in Europe, are attending these speaking conferences where billionaire Jews in finance, in media, in academia, in government, wherever else, powerful Jews from all across the world are hosting these conferences and telling Jews from across the diaspora who attend what they need to do to secure the interests of Jews in the diaspora. And they're getting money from billionaire Jews in America and in Latin America and in Europe and wherever else. I mean, imagine if white people did this. You had the World European Congress, and the mission statement was to serve and advance the interests of European people across the world. And you had billionaire white people from America, Latin America, Europe, wherever else attend these conferences. Thousands of people in attendance, and the chairman was some rich Anglo-Saxon white guy from the UK or from America, a billionaire. And he says, as white people, we need to do this to advance our interests. That's what Jews do. Okay, let's just call it what it is. They have such a strong attachment and affinity for their own Jewishness and Israel that it serves as a conflict of interest with putting our country first. Sorry, that's just true. The neocon foreign policy, you think that had nothing to do with Israel? Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. And I'm not even going to go through all of it. JFK, 9/11, Jack Rubenstein, dancing Israelis, the art students. I mean, we don't need to relitigate all this. Anybody who's on game knows this already, knows all this information. But does anybody trust Bari Weiss? Does anybody trust Ben Shapiro to put America first? If you do, you are high out of your mind. Do not ever trust these people, ever, under any circumstances. Never trust these dual loyalists. The conflict of interest is absurd. And they can put on an American flag and say, I love America and Western civilization. Fuck all of that. Until these people say, I renounce my allegiance to Israel and I will only serve America, and even if they say that, it won't matter until they actually do it. Until that happens, never trust these people. Ever. I mean, this guy has property in Israel. He knows the government of Israel. He's hanging out with the prime minister, the guy who's killing all these children in Gaza. He's saying that guy should be the president of the U.S. I mean, bro, like, what? Talk about affinity, a loyalty to two different countries. Sheldon Adelson, when this guy died, he didn't have a burial in the United States. He had a burial in Israel. A billionaire Jew, Sheldon Adelson, who made his money on gambling, by the way, in the casino industry. A complete troglodyte. This guy is flown to Israel. His coffin lands on the tarmac. You know who greets him? The Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu. The Jews are connected. Sorry, it's just true. They're super interconnected. They have all these organizations, these conferences, these philanthropists. It's funny because Bari Weiss said it herself. She gave the game away. Bari Weiss said American Jewry needs to focus with all the capital we have in our community on making sure that Jewish children in America go to community Jewish centers, Jewish day schools, Jewish synagogues. It is their responsibility to fund this. It's like, could it be more obvious? Bari Weiss, a lesbian Zionist Jew who's about to run CBS, is at a Jewish leadership conference surrounded by other Jews telling billionaire Jews that they need to spend more of their money helping other Jews become more Jewish, identify with their Jewishness, and to make them Zionists. It's like no other group of people does this. Not even the Mexicans, okay? And I have my issues with the Mexican nationalists, but it's not even at this level, not even close. The Chicano nationalists, and these people are a problem, but Mexicans are wonderful. I do like Mexicans a lot, I really do. It's just this particular behavior is indefensible. And it's the same with Jews. I like Jews too, but this behavior is indefensible. It's not American. It's not patriotic. It is dual loyalty, Ben. That's just what it is. If you don't like that word, sorry, take it up with the dictionary. You want to know an example of a real patriotic Jew? Dave Smith. That's a patriotic Jew. That's a real American. Jeffrey Sachs. That's a patriotic Jew. That's a real American. Although he spends a little too much time shilling for China and talking about the West in a negative way. So I don't know about him, but he's not a Zionist. He's not a dual loyalist. At least not with Israel, he's not. But those are real Americans. Say what you want about them. Those are real Americans. And what's crazy is anybody can come to America and say, I'm an American. I'm a Somalian American. I'm a Mexican American. I'm a Venezuelan American, a Colombian American, all these made up words, all these foreign attachments. When does the former part of your identity, the American part, take precedent over the Colombian, Mexican, Jewish, or Somalian part? Because a lot of people aren't really understanding that. You can't have this dual loyalty. It's really a problem. I say I'm just an American. It's that simple to me. I'm just an American, and America is my nation. I have a black American mom and a Salvadoran dad, and they created one person who's from America and has spent his whole life in America. So I'm an American of black, American, and Salvadoran ancestry. It's not complicated. But now you have Jewish American, Mexican American, Somalian American, Chinese American, Japanese American, all these like different people, Venezuelan American. They have access to America, they have access to Americans, but we don't have access to their culture. We don't have access to Somalian culture or Somalian as an identifier. We can be American, but we can't be Somalian, we can't be Colombian, we can't be Mexican, we can't be Korean, we can't be Chinese. We all have to just be American. Really, if this country's going to survive with all these people here, with all these foreign allegiances, with all these illegals, with all these traitors, with all these dual loyalists. The fight that we are in as America first, and this is why I say it's about rehabilitating the spirit of our country, the fight here, it's patriots versus traitors. I'm a patriot. Fuck anybody who's not a patriot. It's patriots versus traitors. Nationalists versus globalists. That's literally what this is. It is a spiritual war. It is a psychological war for our country. And the white people understand this, thank God. The white people on the right wing, they get this. There's a couple nut jobs out there who say, we need to go back to 1790, the 1790 Naturalization Act, which has to do with naturalized citizens, by the way, not people born here. They seem to forget that part. But they're saying, we need to go back to the 1790 Naturalization Act. Only whites in America. Yeah, buddy, 150 million non-whites live here. Good fucking luck getting them out of here. Keep up the LARP, though. But that's besides the point. The point I'm making here is, this is about patriots versus traitors, nationalists versus globalists, real Americans, real American workers versus Silicon Valley and Wall Street, and the business interests, and the special interest groups, and the campaign financiers, and the lobbyists. I mean, this is going to be a decades-long war to get back our country from these people, from these leeches, these parasites, these dual loyalists, these traitors. It is literally patriots versus traitors. That's literally what this is. It's like 300. We, the Americans, were the 300 versus the Persians. I shit you not. That's literally the situation we're in. And if we don't take it serious, our country's going to continue to get sodomized and molested by all the worst people on this planet. Wall Street, the bankers, the Israel firsters, the dual loyalists, the Mexican nationalists. These are not Americans. The Somalian refugees, the Somalian nationalists. These fake Americans working in Congress, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, these are not Americans. They are not of our nation. They're not our people. They are not with us. They are on a completely different team. Americans are alone in this, which is why we need to have each other's back. Yeah, I might have black and Salvadoran ancestry, but I'm an American. That's just what it is. All these other extra additives, I am of one nation. I am of one nation. I belong to one nation. It is that simple. And as a citizen, it is my obligation to defend this nation and do what is in its best interest. Literally our obligation. This is a covenant nation. This country belongs to God and Jesus Christ. That is what this country belongs to God and Jesus Christ. Let us never forget that. That's who this country belongs to. And this situation that we're in with all these foreign interlopers, all these private sector interests, all the corrupt politicians, all the fake Americans, our country is going to get hollowed out, guys. Really. People have no allegiance to this country. It's really becoming an issue. Like, really becoming a problem. At a certain point, we have to say, you can't be an American if you're going to do that. Like, we have to draw a line. Anybody can become an American, but Americans can't become anybody else. What? How does that work? I can't just turn around and say I'm Somalian. I can't just turn around and say I'm African. I can't just turn around and say I'm Mexican. I can't just turn around and say I'm this. Being an American comes with expectations, an identity, a culture. Not just, oh, I know the First Amendment, I know the Second Amendment. No, that doesn't cut it. Sorry, that doesn't work. If America is just this idea, this document, the Constitution, how is it that let's just say this, if you gave the Constitution to a desert tribe from Pakistan, would they build America? No, they wouldn't. Sorry, wouldn't work. Why? Because they're Muslim. They're a different nation, different people, different worldview, different culture. They are different in so many ways. They're not like us at all. It's because America is a particular nation comprised of particular people, a unique nation with a unique identity and a unique history that stems from Western civilization, Western Europe, Greco-Roman philosophy, Christianity, the Enlightenment, liberal values, liberalism. That is what America is rooted in, dissenting Protestantism. And all these people who try to say it's not that are not real Americans. They are fucking liars and traitors and dual loyalists. And they're trying to, and globalists, and they're trying to say, the globalists are saying America is not a nation, it's just an idea. And the reason they say that is because if America is just an idea, then anybody from anywhere with a completely different culture can come here as long as they understand the idea of America. No, that is not how that works. And this gives them the pretext they need to open up the borders and flood the country with illegals and third worlders and mass migration. And we cannot stand for that. Sorry, under no circumstances. That will not happen. We can never allow that to happen. So God bless Trump for what he's doing. Because what we're seeing here is a complete erasure of our country's identity and its history and its glory. With people who hate this country. Ilhan Omar can go back to Somalia. I would be so happy about that. She spends more time bitching about the greatest country in the history of the human species than ever saying thank you for being brought in. No gratitude, no loyalty, no appreciation, just whining and complaining. So this is the situation we're in, guys. And like I say, America is a particular people. It is a particular nation. We're different from Canadians and Mexicans and Congolese and Chinese and Russians and Australians. I mean, America and Canada border each other, and Americans are still so different from Canadians. We're more patriotic, nationalistic, we're more religious, we're more bold. We put a higher emphasis on individual responsibility over government handouts. We're more aggressive. We think bigger, we're more bold. And we literally come from the Anglosphere in the same way the Canadians do. Yet we're still different from them as a nation. We have a different culture, a different way of thinking, different mental habits, worldview, all of it. Different history, different consciousness. Americans and Canadians are not the same. And we literally have the same, we come from the same Anglosphere. And we're still different. So imagine how different we are from Mexicans or Chinese or Russians or Japanese or Congolese or whatever. And to say that that's not true, as if we're not a unique and distinct nation and respect us as a nation and treat us as a nation, and to just say Americans are just an idea, no, sir, you are wrong. You are not a patriot. You are not of our nation. You are not on our side. Americans have that conversation, not you. So I'm just getting tired of all of it. All the lies, all the duplicitousness, the dual loyalty, the lack of patriotism, the ungratefulness, it's all becoming ridiculous. And I hope to God that people like Ben Shapiro and Bari Weiss and the lobbyists, I hope to God all of these people become completely irrelevant. I hope these people are about as visible in the political space as a dusty textbook in the corner of my grandma's attic. I have no patience for any of it anymore. Anyways, that's that. We're going to wrap up here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys appreciate the monologue. If you do, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video. And until further ado, I'm out. Take care.